Okay, so we should all know by now that the Mario franchise doesn't really like to build on its world all that much. They create interesting characters, interesting species, but yet they never go into it. And while I understand the reasons why, I think it would be fun to speculate about some of them. So, I have decided to make a series of videos which talks about different aspects of the world, characters, or even the species within the Mario franchise. If you would like me to speculate about something or give my personal thoughts on it, then leave it in the comment section below. So today I wanted to talk about a theory that my friend and me came up with, and that theory is, are the Yoshi and Koopa species related? Okay, so this theory that the Yoshi species and the Koopa species are related. Now, what do I mean by this? I don't mean that they are literally related. What I mean is that I think they're in the same family of species. You know how dogs are related to wolves? They're part of the same family, the canines. That's what I'm speculating with the Yoshis and the Koopa, that they're part of the same family tree. I think that they come from the same ancestor, but both developed different abilities over time, and that one of them definitely went down a darker path than the other. Okay, so now that I've said that they are related species, what evidence do I have? Well, most of it actually has to come down to how similar they are in terms of their biology. Alright, let me explain. Okay, so here we have a Koopa and a Yoshi. When you look at them together, at first glance they don't have much in common. However, if you take a closer look, they actually do. Let's point out the obvious one first. They both have shells on their back. Granted, the Yoshi's shell is a lot smaller, but it is still clearly there. Now, we know that shells are very distinctive among the animal species. I think the only two species that are really known to have shells across all of them is turtles and snails. So the same rule could apply for the Yoshis and Koopa. Maybe they both have shells because they're both from the same family. I'm not saying that turtles and snails are related, I know that they're different, but I mean like there's different types of turtle and there's different types of snail, but they're still classified as in the same family. And also the fact that the shell is still in a very similar shape to the Koopa does help show that they might also be related. So that's some of my evidence. Another similarity they have? A larger snout. Both of these species have an enlarged snout. In fact, when we look at the heads side by side, we can see a ton of similarities. Large snout, shorter underjaw, larger eyes. There's a good amount of similarities on the head alone. Granted, the Yoshis do have these spines, but that could just be something they developed later on, possibly to cope with their environment. When we look at the environments these two have, the Koopa tend to live in a hellish landscape, let's be honest, that's where most of them are, and the Yoshis live on a tropical island. So maybe these spikes are used for thermal regulation? Possibly, but that's a theory for another day. But going on location alone, we also see that both the Yoshi and the Koopa are pretty widespread. We can find them pretty much anywhere. Granted, I am yet to see a Yoshi in the snow. Or maybe they did at some point, I just don't remember. But the fact that they are so widespread also supports that they could have similar ancestors, or, in my case, the same ancestor. The fact that they're both bipedal as well can be an indicator that they are related in some way. I know that some Koopa, like the Spinies and the Beetles, they are quadrupeds, but we still know they're Koopas because, well, you know, the similarities are quite clear. But these are the only two shelled creatures who stand on two legs, other than Bowser and the Koopalings. They're the only ones who seem to stand on two legs, so that must mean that they came from the same ancestor. Another similarity is their short, stubby tails. In fact, the tail might actually help us see a lot about who these ancestors were. Okay, let's be honest, when you look at a Yoshi, what do you compare it to? If you said a dinosaur, then you would be correct. Yoshi looks a lot like a dinosaur that belongs to the theropod group. I'm not going to say that he's from a T-Rex or an Allosaurus or anything like that, I honestly cannot tell, but he would definitely descended from the theropod family. This dinosaur family included the Tyrannosaurs, the Carnotaurs, and the Raptors, along with many others. While they were strikingly different from each other, they were still from the same family tree. But one thing that is shown in this family that they all seem to have is longer, powerful back legs, and all of them are bipedal. Granted, some of their legs were shorter than others, but they were still a lot more powerful than their front limbs. Now, we know that the Yoshis obviously have longer front limbs than their ancestors, so this might mean that whoever they crossbreeded with when they were still primitive must have had longer front arms, just like the Koopas. The Koopas are also bipedal and have stronger front arms, but still have powerful back legs that allows them to walk on two legs. And another strong feature of theropods especially is they all have long tails, which was mainly used for balance. This could mean that a theropod crossbreed with a primitive version of the Koopa at some point, but I'm not going to go into that. And there's also the fact that both turtles and dinosaurs were on the Earth around the same time, so they would have definitely bumped into each other at some point. And remember, this is a fantasy world, so pretty much anything can happen. It's not that much of a stretch for them to come from the same ancestor if this is the case. The similarities that I have pointed out have shown that they are at least distantly related species. And we know that the Yoshis aren't full dinosaurs because, well, the dinosaurs still exist according to Odyssey, so they must have come from a more primitive version of these dinosaurs. Okay, so I have shown evidence that supports the idea that the Yoshis and the Koopas could be distantly related, but now there's another question that pops into mind. If these two creatures are indeed from the same family, and the Koopas are shown to stick together no matter what kind of Koopa they are, why don't the Yoshi live with the Koopa if that's the case? Well, there could be a number of reasons, but I think there are two main reasons why these species may be separated, and they are all to do with culture and morality. When we look at these two species, and when we look at their culture, the most obvious difference is that the Yoshis are very passive. They don't like a lot of combat, they don't like a lot of aggressive behaviour, and they are very peaceful. The Koopas, however, are much more territorial and much more defensive and aggressive. There's also the fact that Koopas tend to have fire-breathing powers which can really threaten the lives of the Yoshi. Plus, I think the Yoshis had earlier human interaction and had more of an interaction with the mushroom people long before the Koopas did. When it comes to morality, we know for a fact that Koopas use a lot of dark magic and love destruction, which we can see that the Yoshis could definitely not like it. I do remember somewhere, either in a comic or in a statement, that the Yoshis actually used to be Koopas before they left. I think it was the original idea for when Super Mario World was originally coming out. I'll have to confirm it and find the source. If I do, I'll put it down in the description. And we also know that the Koopas were kicked out of the Mushroom Kingdom due to their use of dark magic and the threat to the monarchy. From what we can tell, the Yoshis never did use any type of magic, with some exceptions, like there was an explanation that the stars would protect Mario when Yoshi was trying to deliver him to his parents. But they never dabbled in dark magic, so it makes sense why they would want to separate themselves from their cousins, and also explains why they might have left the Mushroom Kingdom as well, with the fear that their cousins would eventually return. And since some Koopas actually seem to have stayed in the Mushroom Kingdom, this might explain why most of the Yoshis left for Yoshi's Island, and have been there ever since. As for whether these two creatures will ever rejoin, we don't know, but it is safe to say that there has been some damage between these two, and just because they're related species, there doesn't seem to be any fixing of it anytime soon. So, in conclusion, I think it is safe to say that the Yoshis and the Koopa are definitely related in some way, mainly due to what Nintendo have said in the past and all the evidence that I've pointed out in this video. And it's clear to see that they do not want to rekindle their relationship. And to be honest, I don't blame them. Some Koopas have agreed to live in peace in the Mushroom Kingdom, so maybe they could start rekindling this? But that will be up to the Yoshis. Maybe too much damage has been done. So, what do you guys think? Do you think there is a chance that the Yoshi species and the Koopa species might be related? Why do you think they separated, and do you think there may be a chance of them returning to each other? Please leave them in the comment section below. I'm Aza, and I really need to get on with some uni work now. See ya!